In the shadow of the Capitol's iron grip, 25 years before Katniss Everdeen would defy the system, another young tribute stepped into the arena, his fate forever altered by the brutal tradition of the Hunger Games. Sunrise on the Reaping, the highly anticipated prequel to *The Hunger Games, takes readers deep into the world of Panem long before the Girl on Fire. This story unravels the harrowing journey of Haymitch Abernathy, a young boy from District 12, as he is thrust into the Second Quarter Quell, a games unlike any before it. Life in District 12 before the Reaping. Before Haymitch became the hardened, alcohol-dependent mentor that Katniss knew, he was just a 16-year-old trying to survive in the impoverished coal mining district of Panem. Born into a life of struggle, Haymitch understood early on that survival meant more than just putting food on the table. He was smart, clever, and quick-witted, often using his intelligence to maneuver situations in his favor, a trait that would later prove essential in the games. Unlike Katniss, whose survival skills relied on hunting, Haymitch used charm, humor, and manipulation to navigate the brutal world of District 12. He had a family he loved and a life that, while difficult, had moments of joy, especially with Lenore Dove, a Covey musician, and his secret love. The Covey were traveling performers with a history of resistance against the Capitol. And through Lenore, Haymitch gained a broader understanding of the oppressive nature of Panem. But all of that changed when the 50th Hunger Games approached, marking the Second Quarter Quell. This time, the Capitol introduced a cruel twist. Each district would have twice the number of tributes, doubling the suffering for the districts and increasing the entertainment value for the Capitol. When the Reaping Day arrived, it was already evident that this would not be a normal Hunger Games. The Reaping, a turn of fate. The Reaping in District 12 was always a grim affair. Most of its citizens lived in poverty, and for many children, taking tesserae, extra entries in exchange for food rations, was a necessary evil. Haymitch, however, had tried to avoid adding his name too many times. Despite his cunning, the odds were never truly in anyone's favor. The ceremony took a horrifying turn when a young boy tried to escape after his name was called. The peacekeepers did not hesitate. In front of the entire district, they executed him, a grim reminder of what happened to those who resisted the Capitol's rules. The air was thick with fear as Effie Trinket's predecessor, a Capitol escort with an artificial smile, pulled the next name from the bowl. Haymitch Abernathy. Shock rippled through the crowd. But Haymitch knew there was no use in resisting. He stepped forward, determined not to show weakness. Then, another name was drawn. This time, it was Maysilee Donner, a girl from the town side of District 12, someone he barely knew but would come to rely on in the arena. The journey to the Capitol and training. The train ride to the Capitol was surreal. Lavish food, luxurious compartments. None of it made sense to a boy who had spent his whole life in hunger. Alongside him were 3 other tributes from District 12, Luella McCoy, a 13-year-old girl from the seam who reminded him of his own little brother, and Wyatt Callow, a mysterious oddsmaker whose family made illegal bets on the games. These tributes, each with their own pasts and hopes, would be thrown into a death match that only one could survive. During their training in the Capitol, Haymitch quickly realized he had a talent for making people like him. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but he knew how to work a crowd. Sponsors were essential in the games, and he intended to use every advantage he could find. His mentor, a former victor from District 12, urged him to focus on making allies, warning him that brute strength would not be enough. The Capitol was a dazzling, horrifying place. As Haymitch trained, he saw firsthand the indifference of its citizens. To them, he and the other tributes were merely entertainment. His resentment toward the Capitol grew stronger. but he buried it under layers of charm and strategic thinking. His interactions with the other tributes revealed a wide array of competitors. Some brutal, some terrified, and some, like Maysilee, reluctant participants in this deadly game. The arena, a battle of wits and willpower. When the games finally began, the arena was revealed to be a vast, treacherous landscape filled with dense forests, hidden traps, and deadly mutations. Unlike previous games, where brute force often determined the victor, the Second Quarter Quell was designed to test intellect as much as strength. Haymitch quickly realized that survival meant more than just avoiding combat. He had to play the long game, securing water, shelter, and food while minimizing unnecessary conflict. Maysilee, who had initially been wary of him, eventually formed an uneasy alliance with him. Together, they navigated the arena, uncovering some of the capital's cruelest tricks. The capital had designed this arena with an especially horrific feature: poisonous birds that could mimic human voices, leading tributes into fatal traps. Haymitch and Maysilee discovered this early on and used it to their advantage, tricking other tributes into ambushes. As days passed, their alliance grew stronger, and for a brief moment, they even entertained the thought that maybe, just maybe, two people could survive together. But they knew the capital would never allow that. The death of Maysilee and the final showdown. As the number of tributes dwindled, betrayal became inevitable. Maysilee, believing it was better to part ways before they were forced to kill each other, left the alliance. Haymitch, though reluctant, understood. But tragedy struck when Maysilee was killed by a flock of the capital's engineered birds. A gruesome reminder that the true enemy was always the system that forced them into this nightmare. Haymitch mourned but had little time to grieve. The final showdown came against a brutal career tribute, one who had trained his whole life for the games. Haymitch used his wit to outmaneuver his opponent, luring him into an area where the arena's dangerous features would do the work for him. In a final act of defiance, Haymitch refused to let the capital dictate the way he won. Instead of delivering the final blow, he tricked his opponent into stepping into a deadly trap, letting the capital's own creation decide the outcome. The victor's curse. Winning the Hunger Games was supposed to mean survival. But for Haymitch, it was the beginning of another nightmare. The capital did not take kindly to victors who defied their expectations. His clever strategy had embarrassed them, and they made sure he would pay the price. Back in District 12, he found that his victory had come at a steep cost: his family, his love, and everything he had fought for had been taken away. Alone and disillusioned, Haymitch turned to alcohol, drowning his guilt in liquor. He had won, but at what cost? Conclusion. A story of defiance. Sunrise on the Reaping is not just the story of how Haymitch Abernathy won the Hunger Games. It is the story of how he lost everything in the process. It is a tale of resilience, sacrifice, and the early seeds of rebellion against the capital's rule. This prequel offers a powerful look into the making of a mentor who would one day guide Katniss Everdeen in her own battle against oppression. With its rich storytelling, immersive world building, and deeply emotional moments, this audiobook is a must-listen for fans of The Hunger Games. Haymitch's journey proves that sometimes survival is not about brute force but about playing the game smarter than anyone else, until the game itself turns against you.